All right, I'm going to go over today what we went over, which is Tuesday and Wednesday's information. So today we went over looking at the clavicle anatomy and the positioning for clavicle, which is really what we were going to start on Wednesday. And then we looked at ribs, elongation, and an x-ray, labeling it for an assignment, and then we reviewed that back together in the classroom. So I'm going to talk about that at the end. So here on your chapter 10 in the Bontrager textbook, you'll see the picture right beside the picture we looked at yesterday of the bony thorax is the sternum. There's not a lot to it. The sternum itself has got the manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process. Where the manubrium connects to the body is the sternal angle. We also have articulations with the sternum to the clavicle, which is the sternoclavicular joint. Now on this image, you can see the lateral perspective of it with those little ovals, kind of attachments for our cartilage to attach. And there's 7 of them because the first 7 costal cartilage attacks directly to our first 7 ribs. And then after that, 8, 9, and 10 kind of join up with 7 to attach to that lower attachment point to that circle on the lateral sternum here. You can see that here in this picture, how that 7th rib kind of attaches down here at the bottom with 8, 9, and 10 with it. Positioning of the sternum, if you'll flip a page over from that, you'll see this diagram with the 2 body habitus. We do an oblique sternum to get the sternum off of the spine, and that way you can see it better. So we do an RAO position. It's a 15 to 20 degree oblique. So positioning considerations here, talk about that rotation into the RAO position, that oblique that we're going to do. Source to image distance, it's a minimum of 40 inches. It was caused that magnification to be able to see it better. So we do have a little distortion going on. If the patient's skin is close to the actual tube itself, 15 inches minimum for us to not have skin erythema happening. So 15 inches from the surface of the collimator. Collimation is important, so we're going to do a small collimated field to like a 10 by 12. Obliquity for a larger barrel-chested patient is 15 degrees, where our astenic patient, a thin thorax, is 20 degrees. The x-ray itself is a little bit blurry looking because it does have orthostatic breathing. So your patient's going to breathe throughout. We can kind of see this little ruffle look along the edges of the sternum. The bottom is the xiphoid process here, not great. You can see the connection at the sternal angle where the manubrium is. So we need about a little above the top of the manubrium and a little below the xiphoid process when we're centering and collimating. We're going to scroll on past the ribs because we looked at that yesterday and look at the positioning for the sternum itself. So here's our picture from the book with our patient standing at the board, or a trauma with the tube angled. So it's an RAO position, right anterior oblique, or the opposite of that is LPO. So they're angling the tube to look like an LPO on this trauma picture. Let's get to the technical factors. So SID 40 inches, 10 by 12 IR, KBP 75 to 85, our MAS, our mass, is going to be 2 sets here. We want to hear you talk about the time because orthostatic breathing is a 2 to 5 second exposure time. I think our book recommends 3 to 4 seconds, and it's a low MA, about 50 on the MA, 25 or 50. That's going to give you around 150 mass. So this is considered a medium range KVP with a high mass for this exposure. Do not recommend using AEC. If possible, we want them to be erect. If you scroll down in your book, you'll see the top of the IR about 1.5 inches above the jugular notch. That's to ensure you get the top of the manubrium. And you're going to be centered to the center of the sternum midway between jugular notch and xiphoid process. The lateral sternum. This one is needing to be done at 72 inches. So you're going to bring your SID back, still centered at mid-sternum, arms behind the back. And we're going to do this one on inspiration to poke the chest out so you can see the sternum. So again, 75 to 85 kVp and about 12 mass on this one. We're not going to do orthostatic breathing. No rotation, central perpendicular, centered at the mid-sagittal, around mid-sternum. T2, 3 or 3 inches distal to vertebral prominence. Oh gosh, I scrolled on down to sternoclavicular joints. Sorry. That's tomorrow or Thursday. We're going to go over those. So center to mid-sternum. There it is. Center of sternum. Midway between jugular and xiphoid process. So let me find us some ribs so you can see what I'm talking about with labeling your ribs for your assignment today. You're going to find an oblique rib. That was today's assignment. And tell if it was RPO, LPO or RAO, LAO. So on this picture here, this is a LPO. It could also be an RAO. So you don't have to find 4 different pictures. You can just find one. And then we're going to label starting with these elongated ribs, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down as much as you can. And that's tomorrow's assignment, was to number the ribs. So I can check that when you come back. You can upload it to Blackboard if you're able to. And then just get ready to practice sternum and rib positioning. On Friday, we're going to start C-spine.